All right, this is pre-algebra lesson 6.2, proportions. Let me tell you what a proportion is, okay? Here's the deal. A proportion is two equal ratios, okay? It is two equal ratios. If I tell you, if I go like this, if I say 2/5 is 6/15, this right here is a proportion. You know why it's a proportion? Because that equal sign is telling you that it's a proportion. The equal sign tells you that it's a proportion. So here we go. That equal sign is telling us that they are equal, right? It wouldn't make any sense for me to put 5 equals 6. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right? If they ever give you this, this is telling you, that equal sign tells you that it's a proportion. They are equal. Here's proportions, okay? If I give you two things like this, 2/5 and 6/15, and ask you, do these two ratios form a proportion? I can ask you that. How would you know if they form a proportion? What does a proportion mean again? What does a proportion mean? That they're equal, right? That they are equal. What can I do here to decide if they are a proportion, Jack?
Multiply 2 and 15 and 5.
That's one way. What is another way? He's saying, well, we'll come back to that. What's another way of doing this? What's another way to find out if they're equal? Yes, we could do that. What is another way? How about reduce them? Bring them down to the lowest terms. 2/5, can I reduce that?
No.
Can I reduce 6/15?
Yes.
Divide by 3, divide by 3. Oh, it's 2/5. Does that make sense? If they form a proportion, then they will be able to be reduced to the exact same thing. That's one. Another way, 2/5 and 6/15, Jack was saying, is to cross multiply. Just cross multiply them. If they come out to the same number, then they form a proportion. What is 5 times 6?
30.
What is 2 times 15?
30.
Since they come out to the same number, they form a proportion. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Lauren, are you paying attention? For real? Does that make sense? Okay. Somebody said to find the least common multiple, or still you said greatest common factor, but you meant least common multiple. 2/5 and 6/15. What is the least common multiple of 5 and 15? 15 times 3 times 3. It comes out to 6/15, right? They are the same fraction. Therefore, since they're the same ratio, they are
The same.
they form a proportion. Does that make sense? Okay. So did you get those three ways to figure out whether or not two ratios whether or not they form a proportion? What are the three ways you can do again? What are the three things you can do? You can do least common multiple of the denominators, right? And then see if they're the same fraction. What else? You could cross multiply them. Make sure if they're the same number, then they're a proportion. If they're not the same number, then they're not. What's the other one? You could just reduce them and see if they reduce the same thing. Boom. If they do, they are a proportion. Okay. Here's the deal, though. We're going to be working with proportions. Let's look at this. Okay. Is this a proportion?
No.
Yeah, it is. You know why?
Because x can equal 8.
No. Why is it a proportion? Why is it a proportion?
Because of the equal sign.
This equal sign is telling you that this equals this. It's telling you that. It's not asking you if it is. It's telling you that it is. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The equal sign tells you that they're equal. So now what are we trying to do then? I mean, with this problem, if I said simplify this, or solve this, what am I asking to do? I want to know what x is. Does that make sense? We know it's a proportion because of the equal sign. Now we got to find out what x is. Couple of ways to do this. You ready for this? Couple of ways. The easiest way of doing it, and the way I would say you should do it, is to cross multiply. Remember, if you have a proportion, if this was a comma, and they were asking you if they were a proportion, what would we be doing? We'd be cross multiplying and finding out if they're equal. That's what we would do. Well, you know what? When they have an equal sign, It means that when you cross multiply, they are equal. That's what it means. So you cross multiply this and you go, okay, what is 9 times 4?
36.
Line down the equal sign, 36. What is x times 6? 6x, right?
Yep.
Oh, have you ever seen a problem that looks like this?
Yeah.
What do you do now?
Check.
What do I do now?
You divide by
Divide by 6, divide by 6, x equals 6. Right? That's what I would do. Another way you could do this same problem would be x over 9 equals 4 over 6. Another way you could do this is go, okay, line down the equal sign. Is the variable happy?
No.
Why not?
Because
He's being divided by 9. What do I do about that?
multiply by
Multiply by 9. X equals, reduce this. This becomes a 3. This becomes a 2. This becomes a 2. This becomes a 1. Oh, it's still 6. Right?
No. How is that equal?
What do you mean?
You
You're
said-
telling me that, so if x is 6, what is 6? Oh, is 6 over 9 equal to 4 over 6? Of course it is. I'm confused as to why you're confused, Jan.
Oh, yeah.
X over 9 equals 4 over 6. This reduces to 2/3, agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, so what over 9 would make it 2/3?
6.
Oh, so, yeah. Okay, try one then. Let's do, we'll do an easy one. 4/5 equals x over 55. Go ahead and try that. All right, so here we go. You're looking. A couple of ways to do this. Let's do both. Okay, one. We'll always put the line down the equal sign. Why not? Cross multiply. Bang and bang. You see what I'm talking about here? What is that? 5 times x? 5x equals, what is 4 times 55? 220. Divide by 5, divide by 5. X equals, what's 220 divided by 5? 44. Make sense? That's one way. Another way, 4/5 equals x over 55, would be to go, okay, let's multiply both sides by, is the variable happy?
No.
Why?
Divided.
Oh, what do I have to do to get him happy? Multiply by what?
55.
55, multiply by 55. They're gone. That leaves me with x equals, this is divide by 11, making that 5. Divide by 5, making it 11. Divide by 5, making it 1. 11 times 4 is 44, right? So same thing. Something else you can do with this is this. 4/5 equals x over 55. Look what else I can do. I can look and go, okay, this equals this. Agreed? Do we agree to that? Okay. So then, how did the 5 become 55? So then, this is going to be times 11. What's 4 times 11? Right? There's lots of ways to do this. Okay. Does 15 20ths and 5 7ths, do they form a proportion?
No.
How do you know? How do you know? Hold on. It's 3/4 and 6/8. Do they form a proportion? Do these two form a proportion?
Yes.
Oh, but there's no equal sign. You just said that because there's no equal sign, they don't form a proportion. Is that true? No. I'm asking you if these two ratios form a proportion. How again do we figure that out? Do you remember? We just talked about this. How do I figure out whether or not they're a proportion? You cross multiply. 20 times 5 is 100. 15 times 7 is 105. Are they equal? Is 100 equal to 105?
No.
Therefore, what? They're not a proportion. Therefore, these two fractions, or these two ratios, do not form a proportion. Try another one. Try it. cross multiply them, right? 7 times 30 is 210. All we need to know is if that equals 210, then it forms a proportion, right? What is 17.5 times 12? Guess what? 210. So then it forms a proportion. What? Right. Anyway, that's how you do this. This is it is not difficult. Just pay attention. There you go.